Lads, it's fudging hot here. I'm hot and I'm bothered, and whilst I take refuge here in Streatham Common underneath this beautiful tree with all the perverts and the doggers, sipping on me fancy pants iced coffee, I thought now was probably a really good time to tell you about my latest project. I'm sure someone's watching me. Hashtag London. So I've snuck into the belly of the forest, Bear Grylls style, because I had a little bit of unwanted company there. You know, careful what you wish for, basically. Um, but I wanted to tell you about my latest project. It's not a craft-based project at all. It was actually a bit of research. I think perhaps I'm going to call it like a sort of public information broadcast. What I want to talk to you about is pretty serious. So I was at a screening of Tawai on, I think it was Wednesday evening at the London Green Film Festival, and it's a documentary about, well, not principally, but it did feature the Panan people of Malaysia, whose lives have literally been turned upside down by the deforestation of the rainforest, which, as most of you know, is occurring to fuel our excessive consumption of palm oil. And I was actually struck by profound sadness at the idea that, again, us who are divorced from the reality, so us in the Western world, without realizing, we're causing a great amount of harm to people, indigenous people, tribes people who are trying to live off the land in the forest. And this just simply isn't possible anymore because their homes, much like the well publicized story of the orangutans, this is happening to humans as well. So as you know, the purpose of this channel is not to dwell on the negatives, it's to talk about the positives, any small change that you can make that will make a difference. And so in that vein, I have done my research, I've scribbled in my notebook, I've visited Mr. Google, I've even been up and down Norwood High Street and visited all the local grocery stores for you in order to bring you some information on palm oil, the do's, the don'ts, the where's, the why's, and what you can do right here, right now to make a budging difference. Don't panic. Thanks to me, you're about to hear the solution. I'm about to take credit for some amazing people's work, which I have batched together in this ridiculous video. But please do spread the word, because actually what I found for you is really brilliant. I think it's going to help so many of you. I know that a lot of you really are trying to make a difference. You really are trying to shop more ethically. And like I say, this is exactly the tool that you need. So sit back, get yourselves a cup of tea, prepare to be mildly educated, not at all amused, and then in conclusion, you'll thank me. Do you know what's really upsetting? I've just heard out that Greta Battenberg is doing like a recorded essay with the 1975, and she's what, like 11 years old and super eloquent, and here I am sweating me nuts off in Streatham Common, can't even string a frickin' sentence together. Like, hats off to her. If you get the chance, read her little book, or sorry, that sounded really patronising. It is actually a little book of her essays. Be inspired, and certainly one of the reasons why I'm putting myself out here talking to you guys about this stuff, and just trying to, on a really basic level, give you hints and ideas that you can realistically incorporate into your daily lives, because we don't all have time to be activists taking every Friday off. We don't also necessarily always have the money to do the right thing, because unfortunately a lot of ethical products are still very niche. But I think some of the ideas I'm going to present to you now really should help to tip that balance. You really do have more power than you know as a consumer, so don't lose heart. There's plenty we can do. So to recap, the following was inspired by the documentary Tawai, which briefly touched on the indigenous people of Malaysia, the Panan people, whose lives have been affected by the deforestation of the rainforest for the excessive farming of palm oil.
And whilst I appreciate that Tawai is probably not a mainstream documentary, one such story that definitely would have touched our hearts and didn't go unnoted was last year's Iceland Christmas advert. So the 2018 animation, which was originally, in fact, a Greenpeace animation, voiced by the wonderful Emma Thompson. And that's why, in fact, the advert was banned due to its political origins. But banning it only helped to send the advert viral. And I know that I, for a fact, went and I shared that on social media. And yeah, I guess I felt very self righteous for doing so. But what exactly did I do as a response to this? Well, hands up, absolutely nothing. It certainly didn't stop me from scoffing my Christmas chockies and lathering myself up with my lotions and potions that I received. But why? In truth, like, it was ignorance, and I think it might be fair to say that for many of us. So then what is palm oil and why is it in such high demand? Well, it's actually present in over 50% of the products in our stores. And the appeal of using this oil over any other for our manufacturers is that A, it's so cheap, and B, it remains semi solid at room temperature, and that makes it ideal for chocolate, biscuits, and spreads. So it's a flavourless oil, and it's a cheaper way of making our ice cream creamier, and it's often used in our packaged bread and bakery products. Of course, other oils are available, but the most commonly used of these, the rapeseed and the sunflower oils, are also faced with controversy due to the amount of pesticides used to ensure high yielding crops. More recently, palm oil has become a popular biodiesel, and that's due to its energy efficiency. Of course, there's an irony here, and that is that biodiesels are often marketed as being a sustainable alternative to fossil fuels. However, the environmental damage brought about by most farming practices would render this as bad for the environment as regular diesel. So, is all palm oil bad? Well, it's by no means a new product, and its production has actually been long under scrutiny, and sadly, that's for more than just its negative environmental impacts. So, the RSPO was established back in 2004, and that was to regulate and set standards for a more sustainable production of palm oil. You see, certified palm oil practices can actually protect the environment and the local communities who now depend on this for their livelihoods. You might actually recognise the logo, which can be displayed by some manufacturers claiming to use certified sustainable palm oil. So, unfortunately, however, if you dig a little deeper, you'll soon learn that currently there is little way of knowing if a product was made with 100% sustainably farmed palm oil. So, to try and break this down simply, crude oil is supplied by many, many farmers, and often your smaller farmers are using sustainable practices as they're the locals and they obviously have like a vested interest in restoring and regenerating their environment. The issue, however, is once this crude oil is supplied to refineries, this often gets mixed in with palm oil from other less reliable sources. And that resulting concoction is what ends up in most of our chocolate bars, crisps, sweets, and snacks. But don't lose heart just yet, because as mentioned, there are actually a number of refineries supplying sustainably farmed palm oil. An assessment of policies, operations, and commitments to the environment of 70 of the known palm oil producers and traders has revealed that 25 of the aforementioned actually have fantastic green credentials. Excitingly, the top ranked company boasts really amazing sustainability initiatives and practices, and also fantastic commitments to the local community and a real social enterprise element to their business model. I actually feel, having visited their website, that if all palm oil was produced in such a manner, the world really would be a better place. So, given that we now know the quantities of palm oil needed and that over half of the world's producers are actually using unsustainable farming methods, does this now help to demonstrate the severity of this problem? Bear in mind that 85% of palm oil is produced from crops of palm fruit grown in the rainforests of Malaysia and Indonesia. And in order to meet such high demand, huge areas of the rainforest have now been cleared to make way for growing palm trees. This devastation of the natural habitat of both humans and wildlife is the story most widely reported, and that's perhaps for the empathy factor. However, if you're not an animal lover, just bear in mind that during this rainforest clearing, trees are cut down and what remains is burnt, causing huge amounts of CO2 emissions to be dumped into the atmosphere, this contributing directly to climate change. So, then bearing this all in mind and knowing that for the most part, palm oil is really only present in the most unhealthy snack and convenience foods, how does this make you feel? We don't let our smokers make purchases without knowing the full ramifications of their decisions. Imagine if you were faced with the same guilt shaming every time you went to stock up on your comfort food. I apologise as that's a lot of doom and gloom, so let's remind ourselves now of some good news stories. And I refer back to Iceland, who now have palm oil present in just 28 of their own brand products, with a continued commitment to be palm oil free as soon as possible. I've also learnt that many of our supermarket brands have begun addressing this issue, with Tesco's able to claim that just over 60% of their own brand items use only sustainably farmed palm oil. And can we not take comfort from recent trends in our ever popular coffee industry? This highly lucrative sector is perhaps the most renowned for fair trade products. Think on, and I imagine you'll be hard pushed to find a high street coffee chain that doesn't boast of its coffee origins. Add to that now recyclable coffee cups and the growing trend for reusable cups, and even the discount incentives for their use, and I believe we can take a great amount of satisfaction and inspiration from this sector. If you check up on the right hand side of the screen, you'll see that I've listed brands which are doing some incredible things in all areas of ethical and sustainable trading who really do deserve your custom. Yawn. Hey, no, don't worry, don't panic. That's it. I promise you, that is the science part done and dusted. Now, on to what I believe that we can do about this. And my very first suggestion is thus: vote with your wallet. Now, I appreciate that might sound a little bit ridiculous, but please, as I said in my introduction, never underestimate your power as a consumer to bring about change. So, what exactly do I mean by this? Well, in all honesty, lads, I'm calling for a boycott. Now, I appreciate that those of you that have done your palm oil research are going to be screaming at me, oh my god, no! Like, a boycott's the worst thing you can do. You're just pushing the problem elsewhere. But I swear to you, after years of having worked in the industry, I know for a fact that nothing is going to bring about change quicker than a drop in sales. And your manufacturers will be moving heaven and earth to assure you that they are using nothing but sustainable palm oil in their products. Now, in order to achieve this, we're going to need to be a little more informed. So, with that in mind, I've compiled a list of palm oil free alternatives for you to consider next time you're out doing your grocery shopping. And to kick things off, I had a look at packaged bread and cakes. And depressingly, it has to be said there weren't a huge amount of alternatives within this range. However, delightfully, I did discover that the majority of in store bakeries will actually use a sunflower or a rapeseed oil when making their freshly baked loaves. So, that's a really gorgeous alternative there to consider. But if the packaged loaf is your loaf of choice, then here I have a selection. There are a couple there from the supermarkets, and of the big brands, it was just the Warburtons and the Hovis that I could find that had a palm oil free alternative. But why not consider something different? So the New York Bagel products, they are all palm oil free, and in fact the Rivita Cracker brand, the majority of their products, excluding the Fins range, they are all palm oil free. But what about cake? I have some really bad news for you on the old cakeage front, lads. To date, I've not found a single cake in the shops that is palm oil free. But not to worry, thinking outside the box, I thought why not turn to our bake-off chums for a solution to this problem? So why not make Prue proud and do a little bit of home baking so you know exactly what's going into your baked goods? Or you could pick up a couple of DIY packs from Poor Hollywood. They are in fact palm oil free. And of course, our lovely Mary Berry, her cakes are in fact palm oil free. And so on to biscuits. As you can see there, there is a fairly healthy array of choice there. And for my Irish chums, please note that the East Coast Bakehouse, their products, as far as I can tell, are all palm oil free. And they are in fact an Irish brand, so that's a double win for you there. We've got healthier options from the Naked bars and then the Aldi's own brand version of the fruit bars and Nature Valley. But please do note that not all Nature Valley bars are in fact palm oil free, so do just double check. And the same to be said for McVitie's. So those digestive lights are in fact the only McVitie's biscuits that are palm oil free. But my best advice to you when it comes to biscuits is to go all butter. Yeah, you heard me, all butter. And what better way to do that than with the king of biscuits, the cookie? And excitingly, I discovered that actually most own brand, supermarket own brand cookies, they are in fact palm oil free. And pretty delicious because obviously I took it upon myself to sample a few for you. So that is my top tip vis-a-vis biscuits. And so on to ice cream. As you can see, there's a couple of household favourites there that are in fact palm oil free. So Haagen-Dazs and Ben& Jerry's, great news. And just wanted to shout out there for cart doors. So you can see the Rainforest Alliance logo there. And they are actually really reasonably priced, I know, in supermarkets at the moment. Again, at the bottom of the page there, you'll see that quite a few of the supermarket owned brands are in fact palm oil free. And what about a day out and about? So, if we are treating ourselves to the old ice cream truck, a lot of the family favourites are in fact palm oil free. So, your knobbly bobbly and your fab, they are all guilt free treats. But, I don't want to call out any brands here. I don't want to be doing any slagging, but, you'll perhaps note some considerable absences that obviously means that they do contain palm oil. That's probably due in part to the chocolatey coating that's likely to contain that palm oil. And speaking of chocolate, chocolate perhaps the most renowned snack for containing palm oil. But as you can see, that's a pretty healthy array there on that page. We've got the Toblerone there, and a lot of the own brand. So I think really that's perhaps like one of the most notable pieces that I've got from this recent sort of exploration. And the Lindt there, the excellent, so darker chocolates as well tend not to contain the palm oil. And then onto sweets. Now I had to say I was a bit surprised when I was doing my research. I didn't expect that I would have to be double checking my sweets for palm oil, but does seem to be that there is a presence of palm oil in some of our more popular sweet brands. But again, as you can see, look, that page there is fit to busting. And, that would certainly be enough to see me through a trip to the cinema without complaints. And yeah, just wanted to call out Candy Kittens there that have recently changed their ingredients to contain no palm oil. And then onto pizza dough. So that was something that was highlighted during my research, and I was a little bit surprised about that. And actually, from visiting the stores and having a quick check, for the lion's share of those products, they're actually using rapeseed oil for their pizza doughs. So not such a concern there on that front. What you could do is use the Just Roll there, the sourdough pizza base, and make your own. Go old school. Have a little bit of family fun there. Make your own pizzas. And then on to crisps. Again, from my research, quite a lot of crisps, especially any sort of potatoy crisps, generally seem to be fried in a sunflower oil. So you're okay there. It tends to be more sort of snacky, kind of crackery like snacks. They tend to contain the palm oil. So yeah, that would be my sort of tip on that front. So I also mentioned that palm oil is present in a lot of cosmetics, makeup, lotions and potions. But this just felt like a really sort of overwhelming subject matter for me at this moment in time. It appears that a lot of ingredients they're not called out as palm oil, they're coded away and given lots of different sort of complicated names. So that I'm afraid I'm going to park and cover off in a separate video. And so now onto my ultimate good news story, and I am so thrilled to share this with you because having spent hours of my life that I will never get back, trawling through lists upon lists of ingredients and checking out loads of different groceries to compile that palm oil free collection for you, I then, of course, discovered Geeky, and that is your sustainable shopping companion. So it's actually a downloadable app for your phone. And as you can see there, all of those little symbols, they're in fact badges, and those badges can be awarded to different products, and they cover off loads of different categories. So not just sustainable palm oil, but also looking at things like recyclable packaging, like product origin, is the product UK based? And it's used very much like MyFitnessPal if you're familiar with that app. You can scan the barcode in whilst you're out shopping, and that will tell you an awful lot about the products that you're looking to buy. I've just shown you a couple of screen grabs there from me doing a test run with the app. I think it was looking at tea bags. So that 4 there suggests that the product was awarded 4 of the potential 12, I think it is, badges. And then it goes on to suggest products that rank even higher. So really, really helpful if you're looking to make really informed decisions whilst you're out shopping. And then speaking of informed decisions, another resource that I found like ridiculously eye-opening was the Ethical Consumer website. So you can search via brands, you can search via product, And that will tell you a huge amount about how brands and manufacturers are ranked for their sustainability. Again, not just vis-a-vis palm oil, but also, ethical standards and recycling, sustainable initiatives, like all of that. It's, yeah, like I say, that's a real game changer. And speaking of game changers, I'm now going to suggest something that might seem a little far fetched to you all, but I have set up a petition, an online petition, and I would really love it if you could take the time to sign it. It's a sustainable palm oil, the people's choice, and I've set that up via change.org. And my intention is to forward that on to all of the brands above, so all of our high street brands. And the idea is that it's covering off consumer choice. So, like I say, without a voice, without us demanding the use of sustainable palm oil and transparency in products, brands, they're not going to do anything. And trust me, guys, I know I've worked in the industry. If you guys stop buying it, there will be a panic and there will be a call to action. And that's when things really start to change. Like I said, just look at the coffee industry. I promise you, the minute they started screaming about the latte levy, sure, we all went and we sorted out our coffee cups. So trust me, I know. If you could take the time to sign the form, absolutely fantastic. And why the hell not? Because during my research, I have discovered some really amazingly cool things that are happening. So these guys here, Revive, they're actually a Scottish based company, and they are using coffee waste. And with that coffee waste, they are creating an alternative to palm oil. And the same again here with BioBean, set up by a fantastic young entrepreneur whose vision is to use the oil extracted from coffee grounds, so used coffee grounds from all of our coffee shops, taking those coffee grounds and the oil that he's extracting from that, he's learnt is a biodiesel, and his vision is to see that all black cabs and London buses are powered by this oil derived from our coffee waste. I mean, how fantastic is that? So exciting. And would you not rather see a call to action is going to force our brands to find brand new sources of oils? And like I said, there are different oils available: sunflower seed oil, hemp seed oil, rapeseed oil. Would you not rather see those brands investing in urban farming, hydroponics, aquaponics? This is a way of producing, mass producing these oils without causing the devastation that our excessive use of palm oil has been creating. So thank you so much. You've sat through an awful lot of waffle. I probably sounded extremely righteous. I really hope I didn't. I just want you guys to feel as empowered as I now do.